She was 29, the first daughter of her family, and everyone who knew her agreed on one thing. Chiamaka had a good heart. Soft-spoken, respectful, and beautiful in that calm, unshakable way. She had the kind of smile that made neighbors wave when she passed, and the kind of eyes that made children confess even when they hadn't been caught. She ran a small boutique at the corner of Udi Junction. Nothing flashy, just lace, ankara, handbags, and her soft voice saying, "Feel free to try it on, my sister." Then came Obinna. They met at a wedding in a Chala community hall. Chiamaka had been serving drinks with her cousin when he approached her, all confidence and white senator outfit. "Can I have your number?" he asked, smiling. "Or should I go and find your father first?" Chiamaka laughed, half shy, half surprised. The man had guts. He was 34, tall, caramel-skinned, always smelling of perfume and engine oil. He ran an electronics shop at Ogbait Main Market in Enugu and knew how to make even small talk feel like poetry. He didn't rush her. He showed up every Sunday, met her mother, helped fix their faulty socket during his first visit. He prayed with her, bought her food when she was too tired to cook, and sent text messages like, "You're the woman I prayed for before I even knew how to pray." 6 months later, he proposed under the mango tree behind her mother's house in Udi. The wedding followed quickly. Igbo traditional with oja flute, palm wine, igbankwu, and proud uncles handing out cola nuts like medals. People danced. People prayed. People envied her. "Obinna is a good man," they said. "And Chiamaka? She's lucky." She thought so too. After the wedding, they moved into a 2-bedroom flat in Abakpa Nike, a bustling area in Enugu town. It was small, warm, and theirs. The compound had 4 flats. Upstairs lived a young couple who fought too much. Downstairs was Mama Uju, the landlady, a retired teacher with cat-like eyes and a talent for gossip. Their early months were sweet. Obinna would come back from the market with tomatoes, pepper, sometimes small suya. He would walk in, drop the nylon, and kiss her on the cheek. "Maka, baby, prepare that soup where they make me forget my problems." They would eat together, argue over African magic, and sleep in each other's arms like 2 puzzle pieces that finally fit. Chiamaka glowed. Her boutique started growing. She got referrals, met customers from church, even began training 1 or 2 girls on the side. She was building, not just a home, but a future. But then, love began to shift. First, it was the late nights. Then the "my phone is charging" excuses. Then the silent treatment over nothing. No more random gifts. No more Friday night gist. No more, "How was your day, Maka?" At first, she convinced herself, it's just stress. Business is hard. Men don't talk when they're worried. So she gave him space. Prayed harder. Woke up at midnight to speak in tongues. Cooked his favorite dishes, bitter leaf soup with fresh pounded yam. But nothing changed. Obinna would stare at his phone, laugh at messages, then turn the screen when she leaned in. She once asked, "Who's that?" He replied, "Just market people. Why are you policing me now?" She apologized, even though she wasn't wrong. Because that's what good wives are told to do. Be patient. Be quiet. Don't fight over small things. So she continued. Until one Friday, while folding clothes at the shop, her phone rang. It was her mother. "Nay, your sister Adaeze has finished her training. She said she wants to come to Enugu. She wants to help you around the house for a while." Adaeze, her baby sister, 24. Fresh from the village, long legs, lighter skin, and a sharp tongue that often got her in trouble. Chiamaka hesitated. She loved her sister. But Adaeze was not the easiest person to live with. Still, she said yes. Blood is blood. 2 days later, Adaeze arrived with a big travel bag and a loud laugh. She wore fitted jeans and a shoulder bag that was clearly borrowed. She hugged Obinna tightly and giggled too long. Chiamaka watched, but said nothing. Adaeze entered the house like she owned it. Swept the sitting room, cooked ogbono soup that Obinna licked his fingers after, danced when music played, wore bum shorts in the evening. At first, it looked like help, but something in Chiamaka's heart twitched. She started waking up to find Obinna already laughing with Adaeze in the kitchen. She'd return from the shop and find them watching movies. Adaeze began wearing tighter clothes. Some of them were even Chiamaka's own. One night, while praying alone, Chiamaka whispered to God, "Lord, I'm not stupid, but I need you to confirm what my spirit is already seeing." Because deep down, she knew. Something was no longer right in her home. But the proof hadn't yet slapped her in the face. And until it did, she chose silence. The scent of ogbono soup filled the small flat in Abakpa, but Chiamaka had no appetite. She stirred the pot gently, watching the slimy draw stretch like a rope and snap. It was how her marriage felt lately, stretched too thin and breaking in invisible ways. Obinna had been acting strange. His laughter didn't reach his eyes anymore. His hugs felt mechanical. And worse still, his attention had shifted. Not to work, not to stress, but to Adaeze, her own younger sister. At first, it was nothing, or so she thought. Adaeze had arrived 2 months earlier, saying she just needed a place to rest after her fashion training in Udi. Their mother had even called to convince Chiamaka, and Chiamaka, ever the peacekeeper, opened her arms without suspicion. She'd welcomed her baby sister into her home with the trust only blood can buy. But slowly, very slowly, things began to shift. One Saturday morning, Chiamaka returned from her shop earlier than expected. The customer who booked a wedding dress fitting had canceled last minute. She was tired and looking forward to resting her feet. She opened the gate, slipped off her shoes so her heels wouldn't echo in the compound, and quietly pushed the door open. She wasn't trying to sneak in, but something made her pause. She heard laughter. Obinna's deep voice, followed by Adaeze's familiar giggle. That type of laugh you don't share with just anybody. Chiamaka froze. She peeked into the living room. There they were. Obinna, reclined on the sofa, barefoot, holding a glass bottle of Maltina, and Adaeze, sitting just a little too close. Her wrapper was loosely tied. Her legs were bare. One of them rested casually on Obinna's thigh. He was rubbing lotion into her calf, the way he used to do for Chiamaka when they were newly married. Chiamaka didn't make a sound. She stepped back slowly, heart thumping, ears ringing. She turned and walked to the backyard like a stranger in her own home. She stood behind the water tank and whispered, "Chinek." What did I just see? When she returned to the kitchen 20 minutes later, Obinna was in the bedroom. Adaeze was pretending to nap in the guest room. No one mentioned what happened. And Chiamaka? She said nothing. But that night, while she and Obinna lay on the same bed, back to back, her eyes remained open long after he had started snoring. Something had broken, and she didn't know how to fix it. The next day, Adaeze wore one of Chiamaka's Ankara blouses without asking. It was a bold, fitted top, one Chiamaka had been saving for church. When she confronted her, Adaeze just smiled. "Auntie, it's just cloth. I'll return it." Obinna, who overheard, chuckled from the sitting room. Let the girl enjoy small na. You know village life was tough. Chiamaka stared at him. Her blouse, her sister, Her husband all laughing in her house while she felt like a visitor in her own life. And then there were the phone calls. Obinna used to leave his phone lying around. Now it never left his pocket. His WhatsApp now had a fingerprint lock. He muted his calls. If Chiamaka came near, he'd tilt the screen away. Once, while they were eating, a message popped up. She only caught a glimpse. I missed last night. Your hands. Obinna turned the phone face down before she could blink. She swallowed her food in silence. The final straw came on a Tuesday evening. It had rained heavily. Chiamaka had waited in her shop for the storm to pass before returning home. She was drenched by the time she arrived. Inside, the house was dark. The power was out again. She struck a match, lit the lantern, and headed to the bathroom. And that was when she noticed something. Obinna's towel, the gray one with the red stripe, was hanging in the guest bathroom, not the one they shared. She walked slowly, heart racing, and touched it. It was damp, recently used. And then she saw it. Adaeze's shower cap, wet and flung lazily over the tap. Both had used the guest bathroom. Together? She didn't want to believe it. That night after dinner, she laid awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Obinna came in later, reeking of cheap body spray and lies. He touched her waist gently. She didn't move. You're quiet, he said. I'm tired. He kissed her cheek without emotion. Good night, Maka. But she was wide awake. Tears ran down her temple into her pillow. She got up, walked to the sitting room, and curled on the sofa. She stayed there till the rooster crowed. 2 days later, she visited Mama Uju, their landlady. The older woman didn't pretend. The moment Chiamaka entered, she said, I knew you'd come. Chiamaka's throat tightened. Mama, is it me? Am I imagining things? The old woman dropped her needle and thread, looked her in the eyes and said, You're not mad. I've seen what I've seen. Obinna and that your sister, they're doing what only husband and wife should do. And it breaks my heart to tell you. Chiamaka couldn't breathe. I thought I was being paranoid. You're not. Mama Uju said. You're just hurting in silence. She left the woman's flat with shaking hands. She didn't go home. She walked aimlessly down the road past the suya spot, past the pharmacy, until she found herself in front of a church. She went inside. The building was empty. She knelt, placed both hands on the pew, and whispered, God, I'm not perfect, but I have tried. I have loved. I have built. Why would you let my own blood betray me? Why would you let my home become a mockery? The tears came freely. No one was there to see. And that night, for the first time, Chiamaka didn't ask for strength. She asked for a sign. And the will to leave with her dignity intact. Because deep in her soul, something had shifted. And she wasn't the same Maka who walked into that marriage a year ago. Now, she was a woman scorned, but not broken. The house was quiet that Wednesday morning, but Chiamaka's spirit was loud with decision. She had barely slept the night before. Just lay curled on the sofa, eyes wide open, listening to the wind brushing against the windows. The occasional buzz of mosquitoes in the darkness, and the ache in her chest whispering, This is no longer your home. That morning, she told Obinna she had a suppliers meeting in Enugu, that she would be away for 2 days. Obinna didn't blink. He barely looked up from his phone. Safe journey. Bring better fabric sew. Adaeze, standing by the sink and peeling oranges, smiled sweetly. Auntie, no worry. I go take care of everything here. Chiamaka watched them both. 2 people, one wearing her ring, the other wearing her clothes, pretending she didn't see what they were doing. She smiled gently. Thank you. I'll leave after breakfast. But she didn't go far. She packed a small overnight bag, boarded a kiki to the main junction, and doubled back on foot through the alley that connected to the back of their compound. By then, it was almost noon. The sun was high and the streets were noisy with life. Mechanics shouting, children chasing tires, women haggling over okra. She reached the back gate, where Mama Uju had already left it unlocked, just like they had discussed. "You need to see it with your eyes," Mama Uju had whispered. "Only then will your heart finally release you." Chiamaka walked barefoot through the back corridor, her scarf tied tightly, heart pounding. The living room was quiet. No TV, no footsteps. Only the soft sound of music playing faintly from her bedroom. Her hand trembled as she reached for the door handle. But she didn't stop. She opened the door, and there they were. Obinna, shirtless, lying in the bed they once shared. Adaeze beside him, laughing, her wrapper undone, sprawled across the sheets like she owned the place. The same bed Chiamaka had knelt beside to pray. The same room she had decorated with her hands. Time stopped. Adaeze screamed first. "Jesus!" she yelled, scrambling to cover herself. Obinna jumped off the bed, grabbing a pillow like it could protect him. Maka, wait, it's not what it looks like." Chiamaka stared. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just looked at both of them like they were strangers she'd never met. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "So, this is it." Adaeze stammered, clutching the blanket to her chest. "Auntie, please. Please, I swear, it was the devil." "Stop," Chiamaka said, raising her hand. "Don't bring the devil into this. The devil didn't open your legs. You did." She turned to Obinna. "And you said vows. You promised me forever, in front of God and family." Obinna reached for her. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what?" she snapped, her voice finally rising. "That you've been sleeping with my sister under my roof? That the same mouth you used to tell me I'm your peace is the same mouth that now moans her name?" She took a shaky breath, blinking rapidly. "You fed me lies, and fed her my food." Adaeze collapsed on the floor, crying. "Please forgive me." Chiamaka shook her head slowly. "You, my sister, my own blood. You slept in my bed. You wore my clothes. And behind my back, you wore my husband, too." The room fell silent. Even the music had stopped. Obinna was panting, hands on his knees like a man who had been caught in fire. Chiamaka turned and walked to the wardrobe. She opened it and pulled out a small bag, one she had packed the night before. She turned around, walked to the door, and looked at both of them one last time. "Enjoy each other," she said, voice steady. "But may the shame of what you've done never leave you." Then she walked out. Obinna chased after her, barefoot, panicked. "Maka, please don't do this. You're my wife. We can fix it." She stopped at the compound gate and turned to him. "I was your wife," she said, "but now I'm your lesson." And then she left. She didn't look back. Not once. Because sometimes strength isn't in the shouting, it's in the leaving. Chiamaka arrived at her mother's house that evening. She didn't speak much, just walked into her old room, placed her bag by the wall, and lay on the bed. Her mother came in, confused, eyes worried. "Nah, what is it? Where's Obinna?" Chiamaka didn't answer. She just curled up and whispered into the pillow. "He broke me, Mama. He broke me in a way I can't explain." Her mother sat beside her, stroking her hair. They didn't speak much that night. But in the silence, something new was growing. Not hatred, not revenge, but something deeper. A woman rediscovering herself. Slowly, painfully, but surely.